But thanks so much for coming on, Bree. You've been pretty busy lately, and it's because, well, it seems like you've done this sort of thing, like advocated for fighting for Medicare for all with this mandate that a lot of these progressive has and have built up for the last 2 years. And apparently that's pretty controversial stance.
That's not controversial. Medicare for all is mainstream. When you want to advocate for something mainstream, but you want to still retain your edginess, what you do is you lie and say it's controversial. This guy is named Nico House. He was just cheerleading the attempted fascist coup of the Capitol on Wednesday, where people stormed the Capitol armed with guns and zip ties with the intention of holding hostages and forcing them to overturn the election with the help of Capitol Police and insiders inside the Pentagon and the Republican Party. He was laughing about it as if he were watching a clip show on Comedy Central, and he said that they accomplished more in one day than AOC did in her short career.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by it. So, you're obviously referring to this effort to force a floor vote for Medicare for all. It's an idea that started percolating about 2 weeks ago when Jamie Dore brought it up on his show. But a week later, Sam Cedar said that he thought it was also a good idea, which drew my attention to it because those...
Okay, now, first lie. Brianna Joy Gray is becoming a very deceptive person. When right-wingers lie, they often rely on conspiracy theories. It's a kind of ethical alibi. Because if they lose the argument, all they have to do is sit there and say, George Soros controls everything. And you could just sit there and say, well, maybe they're lying about that, about believing that. Or maybe they're mentally ill, or maybe they're just some anti-Semitic waterhead. Either way, they have an ethical alibi. Brianna Joy Gray knows she's lying right now. Sam Cedar never said that he agreed with forcing a floor vote on Medicare for all. He agreed with leveraging a vote for Pelosi for something, and he agreed with AOC's position, which is we should use that leverage to get rid of PAYGO. Getting rid of PAYGO allows Medicare for all to happen. A floor vote is useless, even if they do have the votes, because they have no way of paying for it. Getting rid of PAYGO allows them to pay for it. That's removing an actual obstacle in the way of progressive change. A floor vote does nothing but discredit the progressive move toward Medicare for all. So already, I'm questioning the motives of Brianna Joy Gray and this fucking dunderhead.
There are two people who don't often agree on much. And I thought, well,
it's a nice way to say it.
If these people who are kind of have these ideological friction can come to terms with this, let me look closely. I took a listen. It sounded solid. And it started to get vetted by more and more people over the course of the next week or so.
And every time it was debated, the floor vote side lost the debate.
Crystal Ball talked about it on her show. She had Jimmy Dore on to talk about it. And then things really blew up, as you know, when AOC herself weighed in on the conversation by responding to a tweet by NFL player Justin Jackson on Twitter.
Instead of Jimmy. So that should probably be mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason. And in the course of that exchange, something happened that doesn't often happen when AOC is involved because of her popularity. Justin Jackson, at least in the war of likes and retweets, won out.
And that's really all that matters to these guys, because they actually lost the battle, the war. They won the Twitter battle. They lost the actual war where it counted.
When it became by a significant amount. And so at that point, it became a real kind of like lightning rod and has been roiling the left ever since.
Yeah. So what was interesting about that was like AOC's, I think that was her first mistake. Like,
what mistake? She won, you lost.
In her approach to trying to mitigate the situation was, I don't think that she knew, honestly, that
Who Jimmy Dore was? Yeah, most people don't.
One, Justin Jackson was so political. Like, I don't think she knew. Because Justin was just, I'm like, good God, bro. Chill. And he was, because Justin has been like your...
He was being loud. That's the equivalent of being funny. You didn't know that? All you have to, if you want to be funny, you just have to be loud and say, damn. This is just like a barber shop, you know? Just before the barber beats the shit out of you for rocking a fucking Hunger Games haircut, you should check this Nico House dude out, man. He looks like a fucking... This dude looks like a fucking Muppet from the future.
Himself more than fair to AOC. He's giving her pass after pass after pass. I'm like, well...
For what?
We don't want to throw allies under the bus,
no
you know, and he's been like that type. He's been very lenient on everybody he considers to be an ally. So when he gets pushed to that point, and he's tagging her and Jimmy, and then she responds to him, doesn't respond to Jimmy.
She doesn't respond to Ben Shapiro either. Ben Shapiro's bigger than Jimmy Dore.
And I don't think she knew that Jimmy and him were like that. Like
you
that.
Could have stopped
Jimmy
it.
could be like, hey, come on the show right now. And then Jimmy, of course, went trending #1. And it seemed like you damn near went trending with him.
Well, what happened was, you know, I chose to write an article, kind of laying out the case for it, because, you know, such a big part of the conversation, rightly or wrongly, was Jimmy's temperament, and people were using whether or not they happened to like Jimmy Dore as an argument for why they didn't want to support the floor vote. And I think...
False. Another lie from Brianna Joy Reid. Her name's Brianna Joy Gray. I call her Brianna Joy Reid. No, they didn't need to do that. He lost the argument almost immediately. What she's describing, though, is an ad hominem attack. And that's really what this is about. People misuse this term a lot, ad hominem attacks. An ad hominem attack is a logical fallacy. What it is you attempt to debunk a person's argument by pointing out the low character of the person making that argument. Now, it's true that Jimmy Dore is a man of low character. He has fake hair, fake teeth, and fake politics, but that's not why PAYGO is a better option. Getting rid of PAYGO is a better option than a floor vote for Medicare for all. Getting rid of PAYGO is an actual material change that moves everyone forward. A floor vote for Medicare for all is just virtue signaling. It's performative. It doesn't accomplish anything. And, you know, there was a time when Brianna Joy Gray was for material change as opposed to woke virtue signaling. There was but that changed somewhere around the time I remember when she debated Noam Chomsky. After all these years of criticizing Democrats for using identity politics as a crutch, the second she got cornered as to why Joe Biden was a better pick for president than Donald Trump, she started reverting to identity politics, saying, I'm black, therefore we need to bend the knee to fascists. There's no logic in that argument. It was just relying purely on emotion. And I suppose Jimmy Dore must have taught her how to sell out. Because now she's Brianna Joy Reid. So, but once again, there was no need for an ad hominem attack. Jimmy Dore lost the debate. The floor vote lost the debate. And ultimately, we got rid of PAYGO, which is much better. Which was a much better choice than what these two are advocating and what Jimmy Dore was advocating. So again, an ad hominem attack. I'll give you another example of ad hominems. What an ad hominem is. An ad hominem is not just an insult. Ad hominem. Let's say Jimmy Dore. I'll give you an example. Jimmy Dore believes that, and he really does believe this, that COVID's no big deal, and that we should all just pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and get back to work. And the alternative to that argument is that the American people work too much and for too little pay. Not Jimmy, but the rest of us. we work too much already. Why doesn't the government just pay us to stay home? And that's what they do in other countries. And you can look at the data of the infection rate and the death rate of those countries and compare it to ours. And our side wins. The left wins this argument. And Jimmy Dore loses this argument. Now, if I also, in addition to my argument that I have already won, I want to say that Jimmy Dore is a corporate bootlicker, or that Jimmy Dore is a hack comic who wouldn't know funny if he saw Rodney Dangerfield fart on a moose, or I want to say that Jimmy Dore is a Trump apologist who likes to masturbate to the sounds of children crying in cages. Those are all flavoring, decorations, you know. That's injecting fun and interesting, you know, and excitement into the debate. But that doesn't negate the argument that was already made, and that was not a substitute for an argument that's already made. So an insult is not an ad hominem unless that insult is a substitute for an argument, which is not what's happened to Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore simply lost. Got it? Good.